With a history dating back to 1086, Paultons Park in Hampshire, England is home to some of the best family attractions anywhere in the country. From what started off as a small family-owned amusement park into a fully fledged theme park with big multi-million-pound investments, the park has managed to make its way onto the industry's UK map, and in this video we will explore the rich history of Paultons Park, one of the most beloved family theme parks in the UK. Before we even start, prepare for an intense history lesson. And I mean intense. Are you ready? I don't think you are, but you better be. The story of the site can be traced back to 1086, where the Paulet Manor was owned by the Glastonbury Abbey before being sold to John de Paulton in 1269. This was then passed down to John Touchet in 1497, who was killed by Henry VII in an act of rebellion. The land was then taken by the crown and passed on to Henry VIII in 1512. When Henry VIII died in 1547, the throne was transferred to Edward VI, who immediately granted ownership of the manor to William Paulet. Nearly 100 years later, the land was sold after the death of Paulet to William Stanley, who then left the land to his son George. In 1719, George got married to a lovely lady named Sarah, who happened to be the daughter of this man, Sir Hans Sloane of Chelsea. George and Sarah had a son named Hans. I know, this is where it gets confusing. For ease, we'll call Chelsea Hans, Hans 1, and baby Hans, Hans 2. When George died in 1738, Hans II inherited a share of the Paultons estate. Then, when Hans I died in 1780, Hans II inherited the entirety of the estate. Hans II then named himself Hans Sloane Stanley out of respect for Hans I. This is starting to get confusing, but trust me, it gets worse. Hans Sloane Stanley rebuilt parts of the estate but died in 1823, so passed down the estate to his son, William Sloane Stanley, who continued these improvements. Why do they all have to be called John, William, Hans or Stanley? It makes things so difficult here. When William Sloane Stanley died in 1860, the estate was passed down to his son, and you can guess what he was called. William Hans Sloane Stanley. Are you serious? He then died in 1879 and the Paultons estate went to his son, Hans Sloane Stanley. And when he died, it went to his son, Roger Cyril Hans Sloane Stanley. Okay, that is too many names now. First they were all the same and now they're adding Roger and Cyril into the mix? Why did it need to be that hard? I feel like I've just completed a 3-year history degree in the space of a minute. Finally, in 1944, the Sloane Stanley Hans John William Roger family lost ownership of the Paultons estate when the last of them died, which ended their 209-year ownership of the grounds. And breathe. The Paultons Manor opened as a hotel in 1944, but it burnt down in 1963. After all of those years of conservation, the manor had finally been destroyed. The land, however, was auctioned and sold to John and Anne Manley, who began developing the land as a family attraction, and in 1983, Paultons Park finally opened to the public. Opening day attractions included the Village Life Museum and a range of animal and bird exhibits. In the years after opening, the park continuously expanded, with attractions such as Kids Kingdom in 1986, the Rio Grande Train in 1987, Land of the Dinosaurs in 1988, and the Astroglide in 1989. After a few minor additions, 1993 saw the first major ride come to Paultons Park in the form of the Runaway Train, a big country motioneering roller coaster. After a few more additions such as the Mirror Maze and the Skydiver, the park managed to reach 400,000 visitors in 1995. 1996 saw the introduction of the seasonal Santa's Wonderland, which still runs to this day as Santa's Christmas Grotto. The next few years saw more popular additions to the park, such as the Teacups in 1997, the Go-Karts in 1998, and the Raging River Ride in 1999, which was the park's biggest ride to date, costing £500,000 to construct. The 2000s were bright for Paultons, as they saw the park develop into the popular attraction it is today. 2000 saw the removal of the Runaway Train, but was immediately replaced by the Stinger in the same year, a Zera Tivoli roller coaster. The ride was essentially the same as the Runaway Train, however it was a more updated model and from a different manufacturer. 2001 saw even more rides being installed, including the Dragon Roundabout, the Pirate Ship and the Viking boats. So to contrast the more thrilling rides, 2002 saw 2 smaller rides, the Digger Ride and the Seal Falls. 2003 continued this expansion, introducing the Wave Runner, a water slide attraction, and the Flying Frog, another Zera Tivoli roller coaster. In 2004 we saw the introduction of 2 children's drop towers, the Jumping Bean and the Jumping Jack, and then in 2005 we saw the introduction of Kontiki and the Magic Carpet. 2006 saw the first major roller coaster come to the park. Cobra, a Gerstlauer bobsled coaster, opened to the public on the 18th of March 2006, reaching a top speed of 50 km per hour and reaching heights of 16.5 metres. At the time, it was the most expensive ride at the park, costing £2 million to construct. The years that followed were again making up for Paultons' focus on an older audience. 2007 saw trekking tractors, and 2008 saw the Sky Swinger for the park's 25th anniversary. As well as this, we saw the introduction of the UK's largest Kugel ball as a centrepiece of the new entrance plaza. The park seemed to shift in brand for the anniversary, dropping their classic slogan and owl mascot. In 2009, Paultons made sure that they facilitated older and younger audiences by introducing 2 new attractions. The first of which was Water Kingdom, an interactive water park for children to experience while on their visit. The second attraction was The Edge, a Zamperla disco coaster, which was located next to Cobra. Unfortunately, the opening of The Edge caused controversy within the local council, and Paultons were told they may have to move Cobra and The Edge as their planning permission to build the rides on Country Park rather than Amusement Park was rejected. In the same year, Cobra was granted permission to remain in place. However, the New Forest National Park Planning Authority insisted that The Edge should be moved. After backing from the public, Paultons got permission by the authority to keep the ride in its place in March 2010. 2011 saw the opening of the land that put Paultons Park on the worldwide map. Peppa Pig World was the first ever Peppa Pig theme park and included several rides and attractions, including Daddy Pig's car ride, George's dinosaur adventure, and Peppa's big balloon ride. As well as this, it was home to the biggest Peppa Pig shop anywhere in the world. The themed land was heavily marketed by the park, identifying it as the main attraction, so much so that it changed the name of the park to Paultons Park, home of Peppa Pig World. The area opened to the public on the 6th of April 2011 and helped the park's attendance to double from 500,000 to 1 million in its opening year. But the expansion did not stop there. 2012 saw Magma, a 25-metre tall twist and drop tower from SBF Visa, once again providing a balance between younger and older children's rides. 2013 saw the removal of one of the park's opening day attractions, the Village Life Museum, as it was developed into a 4D cinema. After the success of Peppa Pig World in 2011, Paultons began to redevelop several areas of the park. 2014 saw the demolishing and rebuilding of the entrance, which received a new gift shop and restaurant as well as some more modern architecture. A new double-decker carousel was also added to the park in the same year. Redevelopment continued in 2015 with the addition of Critter Creek, the area positioned opposite to Peppa Pig World. This area was originally home to the Stinger roller coaster and a small walk-through attraction, so these were rethemed into a new land based off weird and wacky animals. The Stinger was rethemed to the Caterpillar roller coaster, and the walkthrough was rethemed to an insect exhibition, and a new train ride named Professor Blast Expedition Express was also added. 2016 saw yet another new area come to the park, this time with some more major additions. Lost Kingdom opened to the public on the 17th of May 2016 and cost £9 million to construct. Not only did the area retheme rides such as the Magic Carpet and the Flying Frog to fit a dinosaur theme, it also introduced 2 new major roller coasters manufactured by Vekoma, those being the Flight of the Pterosaur, a suspended coaster, and Velociraptor, a boomerang coaster, along with some smaller supporting flat rides and attractions. This area really set the standard for what Paultons were trying to do moving forwards, and this became evident moving into the following years. It seemed as though they were trying to remove so-called deadwood and improving the experience all round, and this was evident in 2017 when the park removed the Jumping Jack and the Jumping Bean attractions and introduced an expansion to Peppa Pig World as well as the new Africa-themed zoo. 2018 saw Grampy Rabbit Sailing Club and the Queen's Flying Coach ride, alongside the opening of Little Africa. The park was certainly establishing itself as a competitor to the Merlin parks and was well underway to becoming one of the best theme parks in the UK. In 2019, Paultons announced that another new area will be opening the following year, this time being themed to an American western town. However, the land ended up opening to the public in 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Tornado Springs will be home to a variety of family and thrill attractions, with the main one being Storm Chaser, a Mack Ride spinning coaster. This will become the largest roller coaster in the park, reaching a height of 19.5 metres and reaching a top speed of 59 km per hour. The roller coaster was also accompanied by the Cyclonator, a Zamperla Discovery gyro swing. This was the most thrilling ride that Paultons had ever installed, opening their market to teenagers as well as children. Alongside these two major rides, smaller attractions such as the Windmill Towers were opened, as well as rethemed attractions, such as the Wave Runner into Buffalo Falls and trekking tractors. This was a heavily themed area and the most immersive experience at Paultons, marking a new standard for their future rides. The following year, the park installed another roller coaster inside Tornado Springs called Farmyard Flyer, a third Zero coaster for the park, which was also heavily themed, following suit with the rest of the land. 2024 saw the replacement of the Temple Heights ride in Lost Kingdom, which was previously known as the Magic Carpet. A new log flume attraction named Splash Lagoon opened on the site, which was yet again heavily themed and aesthetically one of the prettiest rides at the park. And that brings us to the end of 2024, where we look forward to the new for 2025 attraction Ghostly Manor, replacing the 4D cinema at the entrance of the park. The ride will be the world's first gameplay theatre attraction, combining a ride system, screens and physical sets. The ride system for this new attraction looks incredible and is an ideal first dark ride for Paultons due to its high capacity and small blueprint. As well as this, we seem to have seen the end of the Raging River ride and the go-karts, which could suggest redevelopment on these sites in the future. We also have the new Vikings area, which is meant to open at the park in 2026, suggested by these images from a consultation at the park earlier this year. With planning permission submitted for the redevelopment of the back area of the park containing Cobra and the Edge, could we see these rides being reimagined? I visited Paultons Park in 2021 for the first and only time, and this back section of the park certainly felt out of place compared to what was around it, so I look forward to what Paultons do with this space. On top of all of this, Paultons have filed a trademark for the Paultons Park Resort and Paultons Park Lodges in the last week, which is exciting news as Paulton will most likely be joining the UK theme park resort lineup. What would you like to see at Paultons Park in the future? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for joining me this time, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.